Hello everyone, welcome back to the new episode of my tutorial series on software development. In the previous episode, we have successfully created our business logic layer where we created getter and setter for our dealer and customer module. In this episode, we will create a data access layer where we will be creating add, update, delete and select methods for our dealer and customer module. So without further delay, let's move to our tutorial series. So let's start our project by opening our solution file, which is on my project file called AnyStore in my desktop. So I'll just open my project solution file by double clicking on it, and it will open on Visual Studio IDE. So this was our business logic layer for dealer and customer module. Now we need to create a data access layer for our dealer and customers. Now go to Solution Explorer, minimize BLL and expand DAL folder, and right click on DAL folder, go to add new item and select class. Here we will give a name which is DCostDAL. So that's it. Now you can press enter or click on add. So this is our dealer and customer data access layer class. So first step is to create a static string method for database connection. So static string method for database connection. So static string my connection string is equals to configuration manager dot connection strings, which is this connection string variable is created on app.config file, and period and connection string. So that's it. Now don't worry about the error, just hover over the error and click on show potential fixes and select the first option, which is using system.configuration. So we solved our error. I think we have error here. I think we don't need parentheses, so I'll just delete it. So that's it. Now we'll start by creating first method, which is select method for displaying all the dealer and customer in our data grid view. So I'll just create a region for that. Region select method for dealer and customer, and let's end this region in region, and between these we will create a select method which is of data table data type. So public data table select, and we don't need to pass any value. So that's it. We have error here, just hover over the error and click on show potential fixes using system.data. So that's it, but we still have one error. It is because this method requires one value to be returned. So first step is to create SQL connection for database connection. So SQL for database connection, that is SQL ECTIN connection con is equals to new SQL connection. So semicolon, hover over the error, click on show potential fixes, not SQL connection. So this is SQL and this is SQL. So hover over the error, show potential fixes using system.data.sql client. So here we need to pass this connection strings, which is my connection string. So that's it. Now we need to create a data table to store the value from database and return it. So let's create data table to hold the value from database and return it. So data table dt is equals to new data table, and we need to return it, so return dt. So that's it. Now our error is gone, and between these codes we will write actual code to select all the data from database. So for that we will start with try block, try, and then catch exception ex. Here we will display a message if we have any exceptional errors. So message box dot show ex dot message. So that's it. Don't worry about the error, just hover over the error, click on show potential fixes using system.windows.forms, then error is gone. And finally we need to close the database connection, so connection dot close. So that's it. Now we need to add code to select all the data from database for our dealer and customer. So first step inside the try block is to write SQL query to select all the data from database, that is string SQL is equals to select all from tbl underscore d underscore cost. So that's it. Now we need to create SQL command to execute this query. So creating SQL command to execute query. So SQL command cmd equals new SQL command, and we'll be using SQL and connection for executing our database connection. So that's it. Now we need to store the data from this query in SQL data adapter first. So creating SQL data adapter to store data from database temporarily. So SQL data adapter equals new SQL data adapter, and inside it will pass cmd SQL command. So that's it. Now adapter has all the value from our SQL query. Now we need to pass this value to our data table. So passing the value from data adapter to data table. For that, adapter dot fill, so dt. So this will pass all the value from SQL data adapter to our data table. So that's it guys, we have successfully created our first method for our dealer and customer to select all the data from database. So that's it. Let's minimize it and save it by pressing Ctrl and S. Now we need to create another method to insert new dealer or customer details in our database. For that I'll create another region. So it will be insert method to add details of dealer or customer. Now in region, between this we will create a method which is a boolean data type. So public bool insert, and we need to pass dcost bll, it will be dc. So hover over the error and click on show potential fixes, and using anystore.bll, so it removes the error, but we still have one error. This is because this method needs one value to be returned, boolean value to be returned. So for that we will create SQL connection first. So it will be SQL connection con is equals to new SQL connection. We'll pass my connection string, then we'll create a boolean value, create a boolean value and set its default value to false. So bool is success equals false, and we'll return this value. So return dt, so return, not dt, return is success. So that's it, we solved our error in insert method. Now between these we need to write actual code to insert details of our dealer and customer. So start with try block and then catch exception ex, and we will display message if we have any exceptional errors. So ex dot message, so that's it. And finally we need to close the connection catch, and finally we need to close the connection. So that's it, connection dot close. And I think I forgot to open the database connection in select method, so let's just expand the select method, and before filling the data we need to open the SQL data connection. So open database connection, it will be connection dot open. So that's it. Now let's minimize this select method and continue our try method. And first step is to write a SQL query to insert details of dealer or customer. For that, string SQL equals insert into tbl underscore d underscore cost, and we will start with columns in our database. Let's check it out. And expand tables, expand tbl underscore d cost, and we do not need to pass id since it is auto generated. We need to pass type, name, email, contact, address, edited and edit by. So start with type, name, email, contact, address, edit by, and added date. So that's it. Let's add this added by at last. Control X and Control V. So that's it. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Now we need to pass values too. So values, I'll just copy, let's delete this, and I'll just copy all of these columns. Control C and paste it at last. Control V, but we need to add @ sign on all of these columns. @ @ @ So that's it, guys. Now we need to create a SQL command to pass the values here and execute the query. So SQL command to pass the values to query and execute. So SQL command cmd equals new SQL command, and we will be using SQL and database connection. So that's it. Now passing the value using parameters, that is cmd.parameters.add with value and @type. Here will be dc.type and cmd.parameters.add with value, and second one is @name and dc.name, and another one is cmd.parameters.add with value and this one is at the rate email dc dot email, and another one is cmd dot parameter dot add with value, and at the rate contact dc dot contact. Another one is cmd dot parameters dot add with value, and at the rate address and dc dot address, so address address. And another one is cmd dot p parameters dot add with value, and at the rate added date and dc dot added date. And the last one is cmd dot parameters dot add with value, and at the rate added underscore by dc dot added by. So that's it guys, we have successfully passed the values to our SQL query. Now we need to open the database connection before executing the query. So connection dot open. Now we need to create an integer variable so that we can check if the query is executed successfully or not. Int variable to check whether the query is executed or not. So int rows is equals to cmd dot execute non-query. So that's it. This will execute the query and pass the value in rows. If the query is executed successfully, then the value of rows will be greater than 0. If the query is executed successfully, then the value of rows will be greater than 0, else it will be less than 0. So let's check it out. If rows is greater than 0, then query executed successfully, else failed to execute query. When the query is executed successfully, we need to change the value of each success to true, else the value of each success will be false. So that's it guys, we have successfully created second method for our dealer and customer, which will be used to add new dealer or customer details in our database. So let's minimize it and let's save it by pressing Ctrl and S. Now we need to create another method to update existing dealer or customer in database. So for that we will create another region, has region update method for dealer and module. Now let's end the region has end region. Now between this region we will create a boolean type method for updating the existing dealer and customer in our dealer and customer module. So it will be a boolean type method. So public bool update, and we need to pass d cost bll, it will be dc. And don't worry about the error, we will solve it. First, creating SQL connection for database connection, and SQL connection con is equals to new SQL connection, and let's create a boolean variable and set its default value to false. So bool is success is equals to false, and return is success. So that's it. So we solve the error also. Now between these two we need to add actual code to update existing dealer and customer for our dealer and customer module. So we'll start with try block. So try and then catch exception ex, and then we'll show message if we have any exceptional errors. So message box dot show ex dot message. So that's it. And last one is finally we will need to close the database connection. So connection dot close. Now we'll add actual functionality in try block to update the existing dealer and customer. For that first step is to write SQL query. So query to update data in database. It will be a string variable. SQL is equals to the query is update tbl underscore d underscore cost, update tbl d cost, set type equals @type, name equals @name, email equals @email, contact equals @contact, address equals @address, and addDate underscore date equals addDate underscore date, and last one is addDate underscore by equals addDate underscore by. Now we also need to verify which row to update. So we'll use where keyword, where id equals @id. So that's it guys. Now we need to pass the values in these areas in SQL query. For that we'll be using SQL command, create SQL command to pass values, SQL command to pass the value in SQL. So it will be SQL command cmd equals new SQL command. It will be using SQL and con, and now passing the values through parameters. So cmd dot parameters dot add with value @type dc dot type, and then cmd dot parameters dot add with value name. Before each one we need and dc dot name, and cmd dot parameters dot add with value @email, and dc dot email, and contact cmd dot parameters dot add with value email, and then contact @contact, and dc dot contact, and cmd dot parameters dot add with value @address, and dc dot address, and cmd dot parameters dot add with value @addDate underscore date, dc dot added date, and another one is cmd dot parameters dot add with value, and added underscore by, it will be dc dot added by, and last one is cmd dot parameters dot add with value @id and dc dot id. In case of update we need to pass id also. So that's it guys. Now we need to open the database connection. Open the database connection. So connection dot open, and then we need to create integer variable to check if the query is executed successfully or not. So integer variable to check if the query executed fully or not. So integer rows equals to cmd dot execute non-query. So that's it. So let's check it out if the query is executed successfully or not. If the query is successfully executed, then the value of rows will be greater than 0, else it will be less than 0. So if rows is greater than 0, then query executed successfully, else fail to execute query. So when the query is executed successfully, the value of each success will be true, else the value of each success will be false. So each success is equals to false. So that's it guys. We have successfully created our update method for our dealer and customer module 2. Now we need to create the last method, that is delete method. Let's create it. First of all, minimize the update query. So I'll save it by pressing Ctrl and S. Now create another region for delete method. So has region delete method for dealer and customer module, and in the region, so that's it. Between this we will create a boolean type method for our dealer and customer. So public bool delete, and we'll pass dcost bll dc. Don't worry about the error. First of all, creating SQL connection. Let's configure if I created proper SQL connection or not. I forgot to pass my connection string here and anywhere else. I don't think I forgot anywhere else. That's the place. Let's check it out on insert. I've passed my connection string. So SQL connection for database connection. So SQL connection con is equals to new SQL connection, passing my connection string, and create a boolean variable and set its default value to false. So it will be bool is success is equals to false, and return it is success. So that's it, we solved the error. But between this we need to write the actual code for deleting the existing dealer and customer from database. So start with try block, try, and then catch exception ex, and then finally we need to close the connection. So connection dot close. So that's it. And in catch block we'll write the message if we have any exceptional error. So message box dot show ex dot message. So that's it, guys. Now we need to write the SQL query to delete the data from database. So SQL query to delete data from database. So string SQL is equals to delete from tbl underscore d underscore cost, where id equals @id. Now we need to pass the value in id. For that we'll create SQL command to pass the value. So SQL command cmd equals new SQL command, and we need to pass SQL and database connection. So that's it. Now we need to pass the value for that. cmd dot parameters dot add with value and @id and dc dot id. So that's it. Now we need to create a integer. Now first we need to create a database, open the database connection. So open db connection. So connection dot open, and then we need to create an integer variable to check if the query executed successfully or not. So integer variable int rows is equals to cmd dot execute non-query. So if the query is executed successfully, then the value of rows will be greater than 0, else the value of rows will be less than 0. Let's check it out. If rows is greater than 0, then query executed successfully and value of each success will be true, else fail to execute query and the value of each success will be false. That's it, guys. We have successfully created a method to delete existing dealer and customer. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and if you have any confusion related to this video, then don't forget to comment. I'll reply as soon as possible. In the next video we will add actual functionality to add, update, delete in our dealer and customer module. So till then, see you soon. Bye bye.